Hello, welcome to Mideast in Depth, part of Levant TV's Press Reviews. David Ignatius writes in the Beirut-based Daily Star an article on the Obama administration's decision to engage Egypt and to look at it as a case of realpolitik over idealism, as per one official, but it's also the right policy choice. The writer says Egypt matters, especially now when the Sunni Arab world is shaken by the twin earthquakes of Iran and ISIS, and President Obama should provide Egypt with economic, political and military support. The risks of letting Egypt slide are simply too great for a responsible administration to ignore. If Obama has indeed decided that a strong Egypt is essential, Ignatius says, he shouldn't try to play both sides of the street. The Egyptian people, traumatized by 4 years of revolution and counter-revolution, need to know that America is truly an ally. Criticism of human rights abuses should continue, but Washington should make clear that they come from a friendly nation that wants Egypt to succeed. And the writer argues that Stephen Hadley, a former national security advisor who visited Sisi in Egypt this month, he said Egypt is even more strategically important now than in the past because stabilizing the Middle East is crucial, and we wouldn't have a lot of partners to help if Egypt were to descend into chaos that would compound the problem. Egypt, the writer adds, is also playing a growing role in the ideological side of the battle against extremism. Sisi last month proposed a religious revolution to save an Islamic world. Sheikh Ahmed al-Tayyib, the Grand Imam of Cairo's Al-Azhar University and a leader of Sunni Islam, called last week in Mecca for reform in Muslim religious education to correct corrupt interpretations that had allowed extremism to grow. Ignatius concludes that the way out of this blind alley isn't to ignore Egypt, but to help it regain power and pride. And moving on to the Washington Post, the Syrian correspondent Kevin Sullivan writes an article in the paper titling it "A Rare Look Inside a Saudi Prison That Showers Terrorists with Perks." Sullivan says except for the machine guns and guard towers, the Al-Hayr high-security prison looks remarkably like a hotel, especially the conjugal-visit wing. Married inmates are allowed to spend 3 to 5 private hours with their wives at least once a month, with fresh linens and tea and sweets on the nightstand. The article reports nearly 1,100 high-security prisoners, all of them jailed on terrorism-related charges, are serving time in the prison and a few miles south of Riyadh. Al-Hayr is the largest of 5 high-security Saudi prisons established in the past decade to deal with a growing terrorism threat, first from Al-Qaeda and more recently from the Islamic State. Saudi prisons long have been largely off-limits to journalists and human rights monitors, but officials said Interior Minister Mohammed bin Nayef, the Deputy Crown Prince, has ordered that journalists be allowed to visit, hoping to refute allegations from human rights groups that Saudi Arabia tortures prisoners. A PowerPoint presentation showed visitors the Saudi government's strategy of showering inmates with perks rather than locking them down in harsh Guantanamo Bay-style conditions. The Saudi government essentially puts each inmate's family on welfare, gives them money for food, rent and school fees, and it pays for airfare and hotel expenses for families to come and visit, even for foreign prisoners whose families live overseas. That was it for today. For more updates, please visit levant.tv. Or subscribe to Mideast in Depth on iTunes. Thanks for watching and bye for now.